going to wait for a few more people to come in before I start. Hey, Muffletron. Hi, Isaac Kane. Hey, Yoga Chick. 5,000. Hello, hello. Can you hear me okay? I'm trying to make sure that you can. Hi, Leia. Thank you. I took my twist down. It's wash day. It's time. But thank you. So I have a really good reason for running so late, but I'm just going to wait for a few more people to come in. Really good reason. Very glad. Super glad I was late. So, hey, Uno ready, Canalita, I think. Hey, Ankh. Hey, Damn Kevo. Hey, Nat Socha. Hey, lady. Hey, you guys. So, I was saying before, to like the few people that were in the room. Hey, OGTP. Hey, Heather. So I'm going to hop into it. I'm like a whole hour late, but I was saying I don't regret it like at all. And I don't regret it. Hey, Tiffany. I don't regret it because I spent time speaking to someone who, while I don't agree with everything always, a lot of what he has to say is so useful. And you know how sometimes when somebody is close, but they're not close, like they're close and they know, but they don't know everything. It's this unique kind of vantage point that they can give you. And also, and I do kind of want to talk a little bit about the value of elders and eldership and the difference between somebody who's just old and someone who's an elder. Because there is a difference. I was fortunate enough to, I, as you guys know, I read tarot, I do divinations for people, but I also have people who I allow to divine for me, because you can't always see every part. There's always going to be blind spots. There's always going to be things that you just don't see. And so part of the thing about divination, and I'm going to quote him because this blew me away. He said, when you get divination and you want the outcome or you want the information that you're getting to instantly manifest into something, you want magic. And magic is a different thing. Okay. Magic is valid and it works, but it's different. Divination gives you preparation. It gives you information necessary to get you in alignment through awareness for what's coming for you. And divination gets you in alignment with a correct vision of what's coming. So you guys that have had readings with me, I've told you that what I show you in the future is not necessarily the future. I'm giving you an awareness of what could happen if, right? If things don't change, if you don't change, if the circumstances don't change, if you don't set new intentions, this is what's coming. And so divination is different than magic. So that was just one little jewel. I was like, wow. So having the opportunity and the time to speak to someone who has been divining for almost as long as I've been alive and getting insight into how that path works out and the things that can be learned was like absolutely what I needed. So that's why I was late, because I was getting enriched and I had to hear a word and a message myself. So now that I've gotten that, I feel more prepared to come before you and to kind of share with you my thoughts, which as usual are all over the place. So let's talk about the difference between an elder and just somebody who's old. You have people who are 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, who have lived. And there's value in experience. There's things that only you can know because you've lived long enough to know it, right? Because there are very young people who are intellectually advanced, who are mature for their age. They're able to, observe what's going on around them and adjust their perspectives or their decisions for it. That happens. That doesn't compare, nor does it trump lived life experience, right? So I just want to make that clear that there is always value in someone who's lived longer than you, because they've seen more than you. They may know more than you in a very practical sense. It's just, more time for observation. But if you are going to look at someone who's 50, two people, they're 50 years old, and one of them is emotionally stunted, doesn't have good insight, is still in the same patterns that they were in their 20s. Their language, their speech is very immature. They're older than you, but are they wise? The other 50-year-old who has lived just as much time, but who has evolved, who's learned, who's received messages, who has been, humble enough to allow for input from other people who seek to grow, 50-year-olds that want to ask you what you think about things, they are your elder. Because they're not just old, they've actually learned some things. They've integrated the information that they have observed, open to accepting that they may not fully get everything. Did it pause? Thank you. Who's on the Wi-Fi? I didn't think so. Gabby, bring me the tablet. My iPad, it might be connected. I'm sorry. Is it fine now? I hope so. So finding elders, when you find an elder, they are worth their weight in gold. The information, the access to information, their perspective, the things you can learn from them, worth their weight in gold. Worth their weight in gold. And so what made me think about this is that I've been seeing, even accessories and t-shirts and shit talking about aunties and this is for the aunties. And I've been really thinking about what does that term really mean? What does that really mean? And it's this assumption. It's the person who is older, who's older than you, but they're not old enough to be your mother per se. They kind of stand in the gap between where you are and your age and your mother's generation or somebody's, 10 years older than you. They kind of stand in the middle, like the big sister auntie. And I thought, this is really interesting that there's this resurgence or this newfound kind of focus on this title. And then I've been thinking about okay, so what does that mean? What are we doing with it? What are you doing with it? If you're 30 and your audience is 22, or if you're 28 and you're talking to 18-year-olds, or you're in your 40s and you're talking to people in your 30s, how is it that you differentiate your life experience and actual wisdom? And a lot of it has to do with us and our ability to evaluate maturity, which if you don't have a lot of life experience, it may be difficult anyway. But I think that as we listen to spirit and we get more comfortable with listening to our own intuition about people and about things, it'll help us be more drawn to those who have actual wisdom versus people who have anecdotal sayings that aren't actually able to live it through or follow it through in any real way. Just because someone's your elder doesn't mean you agree with what they have to say 1000%, or even that they have the full picture of things. It doesn't mean that. But what it is that they have to say being based on information, why is it that I have the Hungry Medium on? Part of it, a large part of it, is because I respect her and her wisdom. I respect what it is that she knows. Give me just 1 second. Sorry about that. We have different perspectives. We have different understandings on things. I'm just giving, her as one of the examples. I give her room on my platform because I can glean so much from her life experience, from the failures that she's had, from her triumphs, from who it is that she knows that herself to be. These are things that I admire and that I seek to become. Being in the process of learning doesn't mean that you have to have mastered it. Another jewel that I got today, this idea that mastery has to be had in order for you to be a conduit for a message is false. And what it serves to do is wrap the messenger up in feelings of shame. Perfect example, case in point. The things that I share with you, I'm listening to as well. And I know that that's not something that a lot of those of us that are messengers, that are diviners, that do this kind of work, it's not something that we always talk about. One of the things that I really like about Sonia, and I'm going to tag her, I've shared some of her videos. She talks about herself. I talk about myself. I talk about the things that I've experienced, the things that I'm thinking about, the things that affect me, because that is really the only thing that you can speak with authority about is you and your understanding of whatever it is that you're experiencing and the things that you've learned. You can talk about that with some certainty. And so when the Hungry Medium is on and she's telling us that story that she told us about getting cancer, because she healed a man who knew that she was a healer and took advantage of her because he knew what she was capable of and she didn't. That moment when we were all listening to her give that story, I was like, whoa. Other people around you may be more aware of your value, your capabilities, your powers than you are. And when she said that she didn't realize that that's what had caused her cancer until everything unfolded, and the shock and the disappointment, but also just like the awareness to that extent that people who maybe seek to do you harm, they may have an understanding of your value that you don't. And that might be why they're near you. That might be why they try to keep your self-esteem low. That might be why they won't leave you alone, even though you're the worst thing in the world. Let them tell it. Maybe it's because you hold something that they really need. Blew my mind. I said, oh, okay, because this is chess. This is not checkers. We need to be more aware. And so when you are blessed to be in the environment of an elder, even if what they're saying doesn't resonate with you 1000%, there are jewels in there. What I find is that we oftentimes feel more comfortable with people who are just old because they are old people who are regurgitating the same confused, the same unsure of themselves type of rhetoric that we currently have. And what they tend to do is validate and hold space for what we are supposed to be trying to grow out of. What do I mean? If you hear an older person who is still trying to figure out who they are, and I'm not talking about the never-ending process of growth and evolution. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about how people in their 20s and 30s are trying to figure out what their next move is going to be, or how to make their way out of their parents' home, or how to get more financial independence, and they're 50, still going through the same thing that you are. I find that it's easier, and oftentimes they get more room and their voices are heard louder because they are still mirroring the same type of lack of evolution that a lot of us are seeking eldership to guide us from. But if they're in the same space as you, how much can they really share? Or if they're stuck where they're at because they're rigid and they're undermining what it is that you're trying to do because Spirit is showing you a new path, but because they weren't brave, or they were too fearful, or they believed, that things should be done the way that their parents did it, the way that their parents did it. And now they're in your face telling you about, well, I'm 60 years old and I've been doing the same thing and it worked for me. So why are you feeling like you want to, do something different? That's an old person. That's not an elder. It's not. That's not an elder. Kaya, you were married to a 13-year-old mentally. That happens. Like there's an actual disconnect between the physical age, the mental age, the emotional age. Those things are not all the same. So when we are in the space of elders, honor that time. Honor that time. Something else that's a telltale sign of an elder is that they have humility. And an elder will tell you, I can't speak, I don't speak with authority on these things. I can't tell you what it is for a fact. but I can tell you what it is that I know and what I see. That's an elder. Because they understand that there are nuances that change the circumstances. There are factors that they may not be fully aware of. They only know what you're sharing with them, or even what you don't say. An elder will be able to figure out what it is that you're saying and what you're not saying. And they're able to have an emotional understanding, a logical understanding of the reasons why you may or may not be speaking on the subject. And they will share with you what they understand from their, history and their knowledge and their maturity, to give you a perspective to help you figure out how to get out of that problem that you're in. Sometimes an elder is younger in age. Absolutely. That happens all the time. You got to be able to discern who to listen to and who not to, and why. And maybe an elder or someone who you really respect, they have a really good handle on these subjects, and then other ones they really don't. And it's okay to take part and leave the rest behind. It's okay to do that. I just realized that because our society really worships youth, and this is like global, we have a global worship of youth. We are more apt to listen to someone who is very young than we are to listen to someone who is older. And I think that that's really strange, but I also think that that was done very much so on purpose, because we alienate our elders and we throw them in with the old people who really are obstacles in a lot of ways. They are obstacles to growth. They can be obstacles to evolution. They can be obstacles to you increasing in your discernment. They can encourage really negative tropes. But we throw our elders in with them. How can you increase your discernment? Pretty much everything that I talk about in these talks, I try to give more insight into how to listen to your small voice. But first, you have to actually know what you think and know where you are. It's easier to evaluate others. It's a sign of immaturity, really, because if you're not able to at least see what it is that your own tendencies are, you're going to be so keen on focusing on what somebody else is doing, then you're not really able to listen to your own voice. Discernment has to do with you having a trust in your own ability to evaluate what's correct for you and what isn't, what resonates with you and what doesn't. Sometimes, for perfect example, someone may be sharing with you, I've given this example, but it's the truth. What it is that Nina Simone had for me when I was 17 did not resonate with me, and I rejected it. It wasn't because her perspective wasn't valid. It wasn't because what she had to offer wasn't important and beneficial. I just wasn't resonating. I wasn't at that frequency yet in my life where I could receive that message. And I think a lot of times we confuse someone's message and throwing them out with the bathwater, throwing the baby with the bathwater out because you're just not ready to receive that. It doesn't mean that what they're saying is not true. It doesn't mean that what they're saying is not beneficial. It just may not be beneficial to you yet. But if it's not going to help you, then you don't need it yet either. You will not miss God. If you're seeking God, higher self, Aromila, whatever you want to call it, if that's what you're seeking genuinely, you won't miss it. You will receive what you can receive at the time that you're ready for it. Your ears will be attuned to the frequency and the messages that are for you in the moment. I say, because I see it happen, that sometimes we get really anxious and we bum rush the food truck because we're hungry. We bum rush the store because we're trying to get what we need. And this belief that the universe will provide, you as a genuine seeker of spirit will be in alignment when it's time, and that we're all on a different path is absolutely necessary, because you just may not be ready to hear that. I was not ready for Nina when I was 17, but when I was 30, oh hell yes, I was ready for all of that. It just wasn't time. The messages, a lot of the things that we hear, there are people who I listen to now who, when I was first exposed to them, or I first heard that thing, or I first read that book, there were things that I was able to receive from that message that now, rereading, re-listening, exposure, I'm getting a whole different thing from it. I got to open the window because it's smoky. Yes, please. I'm dying. Oop. Sorry. I had to open the window. So it may not be that this person is an old fool. It may be that what they're putting down, you're not ready to pick up. It could be that this young person who is reading you from top to bottom, whose life is a literal shambles, the message that they have for you, regardless of whatever else is going on in their life, which will lead me to the next subject that I wanted to get into. Because I mentioned this a week ago, literally last Friday, this idea that you somehow have to be the picture, the perfected manifestation of the message that you're giving is false and phony. And it wraps people up, it ties people up in this framework of shame. You have the right to be growing through your process. And you have the right to be loved and appreciated and heard, even though you have not perfected what it is that you are trying to embody and become. The same thing goes for the messenger. The messenger is receiving information from spirit that we are, for whatever reason, called to share in whatever method or framework it is that we're being told to share it. It does not mean that because the message is coming through me or coming through the hood healer or coming through the hungry medium or coming through Adolana, the oracle, it does not mean that we are at a place where we're embodying the messages that we are given. What we are conduits. Spirit works through us and with us. And we are hearing the message oftentimes at the same time that we're giving it to you. And it's this weird kind of like, well, how can that be? But I promise you, if you listen to writers give their account for how stories come together, and as they're writing it, they're reading the story as well. It really is like that. You have the right to be in the process of and still have what you have to say be valid. You do not have to be the picture of perfection for what it is that you have to say to be correct. For those of you who might be Christian, you remember that Jesus was explaining that the truth can be shared by Satan himself, that the truth can come through children, that it does not make it any less factual or true because it's coming through a person who you may want to reject. The message and the messenger are not always in alignment. Sometimes they are, but not always. Not always. We try to be. It is part of what we are charged to do. There is a higher moral code when you are put in the position of being a messenger. None of that is untrue. I'm just saying we need to be really, really understanding of the fact that you may not see your messenger who's telling you, I'm going to not smoke, or you shouldn't smoke, or it was revealed to me that you should, avoid XYZ thing. It does not mean that what they said is not true just because they're not able to do it, or just because they're still in the process of taking on these character traits. Being a messenger, being a conduit, doing divination for people, being a mouthpiece in this way is an incredibly vulnerable position to be put in when it is your profession. But I felt that this was important to share with all of you because it applies to you as well. I know a lot of you are telling your family and your friends, hey, I'm going to vote this way, or I'm not going to vote at all, or I'm feeling like I want to leave the country, or I feel like I need to plant a garden, or I'm feeling these things. I'm clear in my mind that this is what I need to do. And they may not understand. They may say to you, oh, well, I've never seen you garden before, so why should I listen to you? Or you were just telling me about how, politics are crazy and don't make any sense. Or you were just helping to fundraise for some local politician just a week ago. People will always assign your message with the messenger, but it does not mean that what you have to say is invalid. It doesn't. If you're clear in your own mind about a message that's coming through or something that you're convicted in your own spirit about, and you know for certain that that's how you feel, you have to validate it first. And we need to stop seeking exterior cosign or exterior agreement to make it valid, because it doesn't mean that. Now, if someone rejects what you have to say, if you say to your group of friends that you've been smoking with since high school, I'm going to give up smoking, and I think you should too. And they say, fuck you, you still smoke, we just smoked last night. Let them say that to you. That's fine. They have their reasons. Ultimately, if they continue in a lifestyle that you once participated in and you realize that it's no longer for you, it's only going to benefit you. It doesn't matter. But those same people will become your naysayers. Those same people will be the ones who are telling you, while you need their support, they won't have it for you. And you just got to prepare. You just have to accept that that's going to be part of it. And it may make your path a little bit more difficult than you'd like for it to be. But it's just what it is. Be encouraged. And I know that sounds strange. I'm being constantly told that, this or that, or I don't have any support or whatever. But oftentimes it means that you're on the right path. Ronana, this message is on time. Oh my goodness. Like it's really I got a message that I really needed, and I wasn't expecting it. I wasn't. It was like, listen, if you feel like you have something that you must share, share it. Detach yourself from how it is received. That's part of the magic of listening to an ancestor or an elder, or listening to spirit revealing things to you. We are oftentimes attached to the outcome of our message, and we're forgetting that when you are communicating a message, it's not the same as magic. It actually requires patience. You may never even see the fruits of the seeds that you planted. You cannot be you can't be focused on the feedback. You can't. People who don't want to hear your message are usually the ones that need to hear it the most. And Lord, don't I know that that's difficult. The ones that are the most resistant to the message, the ones who are the most angry about the message, are the ones that need to hear it the most. And they will be mad at you. They will be mad at you. I saw this meme. I meant to share it. I didn't think about that. Oh yeah, there's definitely a message in what isn't being said. We're going to get into that too. Because people who have wisdom understand that a lot is being said, sometimes verbally and sometimes what isn't being stated at all. There's this meme that I saw about how people feel angry. This meme, I don't know if any of you guys saw it, but the guy was like in the bed and he had the covers over his face. And he said, you know how if you're up and it's 6 a.m. and it's bright and sunny outside and you barge into somebody's room and you pull the curtains back and you move the blanket off of their face and you go, good morning, grand rising. It's a beautiful day. Let's go outside. Let's go do this. Let's go do that. If they're not interested in the fact that it's 6 a.m. and it's bright and shiny, they're going to be mad at you. They're going to be furious with you for waking them up. A lot of people don't want to be woken up. A lot of people don't. If you feel compelled to share, do so. If you have a message that you need to share, do so. But after that, leave them be. A lot of you guys reacted because it's really the truth. You say what you have to say, you listen, and you don't argue. They may get to a place when they're learning and they're ready. She learned that it's true. You might be missing out on money. You might be missing out on good weather. Because here, for example, if you don't get up early enough, if you're up late, then all you're going to see is rain. All you're going to see is rain. It affects your perspective, right? If you are so resistant to seeing the possibilities of what other people are trying to show you, all they're going to see is gray clouds and rain. If you get up early here, sunshine, bright, glorious greenery all around me. But if you don't want that and the person is not interested in that and they get up in the afternoon in the rainy season in Costa Rica, they're going to get rained on and they're going to be mad about it. And that's their business. And they're going to try to tell you all it does is rain and it's always gray and it's always this and it's always that. And you'll know, well, it wouldn't be like that if you got up a little bit earlier, if you opened your eyes. You're always the messenger that ends up getting shot. Absolutely. I had a feeling that was the crowd. I had a feeling that was who I was talking to. Yeah, you get shot, but you never know. In the future, that person that shot you might be like, you know what? Thank you so much. You planted a seed and then somebody else watered it. And then I was pruning it and tending to it. And now I have this beautiful tree. And you were the one who took the risk to share the information with me. It's hard being the messenger. It's rough because you are usually telling people stuff that they don't want to hear or that they diametrically do not agree with at all. They don't want to hear it. Why am I dragging you? It's not my intention. I'm just sharing. Listen, I got dragged. I literally had a cry. I really had a cry. A good heavy one. A few minutes before I came on. A heavy cry. Because it was like, damn. Not everybody is going to be able to be everything to you. Certain people occupy very specific purposes in your life. Was just thinking we never know who will eat the fruit and enjoy the shade from the tree that we plant. We really don't. We really don't. We have no idea. We have no idea what it is, what the outcome of what it is that we're doing is going to yield. Something else that really hit me, and that was absolutely amazing, was how the function of shame keeps you from sharing your message. The function of not feeling up to par, the function of thinking that all good that you can get access to lies in the future or in the parts of yourself that you like. When in actuality, most of your gifts are being drowned in the shit that you don't want to look at. Most of your gifts are hidden and buried in the closet that you don't want to deal with. The shadow work that we're always talking about. I said, if you don't get off this phone talking to me like this, because it's the truth. How many of us have gone through dark nights of the soul or realizations about things in our character or in our personality that we're ashamed of? But when you actually looked at it, you had access to growth and you were able to be even more powerful and to manifest more than you ever could. How many of us has that happened to? Because it definitely happened to me. It definitely happened to me. And so then the battle becomes, just like I said last Friday, the people who choose to not allow you to grow past that point, they're the ones living with your ghosts. Because if you've done your shadow work, nobody can shame you about anything. These testimonies, and I know a lot of us, are from the Hood Healer. We follow the Hood Healer. Her testimony is amazing. Amazing. No shame. Because why should there be? We're all learning. We're all growing. And we're surrounded by some people who believe that we are capable and worthy of growth and of room and of care. And other people who feel like, well, you failed, so you deserve to eat shit for like literally the rest of your life. You have both at the same time. And it's just amazing, the testimonies and the growth and like the change in people. Just mind blowing. And I thought, you're giving me some wisdom, even though it's something that I move in and that I work in all the time. Having the conversation again about how the things that we are ashamed of hide all of our gifts and the things that we're supposed to be able to tap into. The rest of your life, yeah, people will bring up stuff that really has no bearing on who you are right now for the rest of your life, because it takes your power away. It's a way to try to shut you up. It's a way to try to shut you down. It's a way to try to undermine your gift. It's a way to try to lessen your impact. That's really what it's designed to do. That's why they do it. Because if I can remove the power, the impact of this person's testimony and their story, then it makes it okay for me to stay in my miserable, unevolved position and judge everyone else. It's a way of bringing you down. Do you think sometimes the environment that prevents us from truly tapping into our shadow work or get past it? I think that it can make it harder. Okay, so I'm going to be really honest with you. I think that your environment, also depending on your chart and your particular personality, because some people, their environment is like responsible for 75% of their mood. So I will say that your environment can definitely add to it. Environment being like where you live, what your home is set up is like, who you live with, people that you interact with regularly. They can definitely make it difficult. Oh my God, yeah. They can definitely make it difficult. It tends to be them that makes it the most difficult. But it's not impossible. It's not something that you can't get past. If you feel like you want to have those conversations or you want to engage with other people who aren't going to try to hold you and live with your ghost forever, then finding larger community like what we're building here is so important, because it definitely can have an effect on it. 1000%. And we can say that's not me because your past self is not you anymore. It's true. But the people who live with that ghost of you past don't necessarily feel that way. You have Pisces, Mars, and Venus in the first house. You absorb everything. Yes, you do. And so, yeah, your environment is definitely going to affect you probably more than some other people would. And it's tender and it's sensitive, and knowing when you're wasting, when it's a waste and when it's not. Some things are worth fighting for, some things aren't. These are all very personal things. So we speak in generalities because, like I said, wisdom has shown me that there are nuances and specifics in everyone's situation that have to do with your path in particular. But what I do know is that those of us who are moved to make changes for ourselves as individuals, and from a place of love or a place of obligation or being led by spirit to share and communicate and call things out, that we must divorce ourselves from the reaction of the person who is receiving that message. Because 95% of the time, they're not going to like it. 95% of the time, somebody who is not a morning person is not going to be happy about you waking them up. A lot of us who understand the importance of these kinds of conversations like what we're having, who seek out counsel, who get divination, who seek, other older or younger people, but people who are possessors of wisdom, that's a different thing. That's you motivated. We're talking about people who aren't personally motivated for that kind of input. And if you are the person who feels obligated or feels led by spirit to share, you will probably not be received very well. You just probably won't. So us being able to stabilize, to divorce ourselves from aligning with or internalizing their response to us, this is what he said. He said, stand naked. I was like, whoa. He said, stand naked as the conveyor of the message. let the message stand on its own. Because if Spirit is moving you to speak, then Spirit is requesting you to convey. How people respond to it is their business. The thing is, though, if you want to make a change, you have to decide on what to change. It's like going to the gym and saying you're trying to get better. What exactly are you going to do to improve? That's fair, outlining the design, except that is personal work. That's not work that you as the message giver can define for the other person. And that's where we run into issues. You can say, hey, I've observed that you have heart disease, right? Let's just say you have heart disease. You have heart disease and your doctor told you that you needed to stop drinking grape soda every single day. I am in your life. I'm a part of your family. I'm one of the people who would be charged with taking care of you should this condition get worse. You need to stop drinking grape soda, right? And this person proceeds to continue to drink it plus more. What are you supposed to do? Every time you mention it to them, every time it's lunchtime or dinner time, and they're grabbing a can of grape soda, and you're like, dude, you're not supposed to have that. It's worsening your condition. You know, we love you. We want you to survive this. We love you. You complain about not being able to participate in things because you don't feel well, but you're doing the exact thing that keeps you isolated from having what it is that you say that you want. It's super frustrating. And what do? Instead of looking at the fact that they are creating their own condition, they focus on you. And they start saying to you, well, you still smoke. You're not supposed to smoke. That's bad. So when you stop smoking, then you can talk to me about my grape soda. That's what people do. That's what people do. You smoking or not don't have shit to do with the fact that they are drinking grape soda and it's not good for them. It literally has nothing to do with it at all. You are just acting as the messenger. You are just relaying a truth to them. This necessity to try to align your personal perfection with what it is that you're sharing with them is nothing other than a mechanism, a method to keep you quiet because they don't want to deal with the fact that they want to drink grape soda. Now, if they said, you know what, you're right, I shouldn't drink grape soda and you should stop smoking, so let's work on that together, that's one thing. That's what we're doing. That's what we're doing. That's what we're doing on Patreon. That's what we're doing together. We're going, you work on your grape soda. I'll remind you about that. You remind me to stop smoking. That's working together. That's building. The other example is deflection. That's deflection. It doesn't mean that you don't have to tell them though. It doesn't mean that. It means that you still have to tell them. How do you still love them after that if they're family or friends? Love, and we're talking about opinions, and this is what I have learned so far about love. In the same way that I'm saying that we need to stop requiring perfection from our messengers and that we need to divorce ourselves from the outcome, you should be able to love someone, want the best for them, regardless of what it is that they are giving you. Now, does that mean that you have to interact with them? Does that mean that you can't love them from a distance? Does that mean that you get to a place where you watch them drink more grape soda because you're telling them that they shouldn't and they have a heart attack? Sometimes you just got to watch it happen. Sometimes you do. But it doesn't mean that you don't love them. It can hurt you to watch them hurt themselves. It can hurt you that they're eroding your relationship because they're mad that you call them on their stuff. But it doesn't mean that you can't still love them. I love people that I don't speak to. I love people that I don't know if I'll ever speak to again. Funny you bring that up. I had someone who hurt me and wronged me deeply, deeply. I don't often decide that I'm going to keep a person, but this person I decided I was going to keep. I met her. I immediately felt love for her. I immediately made room for her. I allowed her to interact with my family, with my children. I made room for her. Oh yes, you can absolutely love someone without liking them. Absolutely. Very well said. And she really violated, like on multiple levels, and then dug her heels in about it and made it worse. And out of the blue, I get this text message, this apology, this I acknowledge what I did, which doesn't always happen. And my Scorpio self was like, actually, I didn't even open the message. Hubs did and told me about it. That's how, like, when I'm done with you, like, I'm done with you. Done. I don't feel no obligation to check. You call me, I'm looking at it ring. Like, I really don't. When I'm done with you, I'm all the way done. So something happened though. Something moved with me. Spirit was like, this person whose nature she's going against, it is not in her nature to do what she's doing. You have an opportunity to support her in her change or to rub her nose in it. I said, oh. So the onus went from her having wronged me to me growing in my character and being able to offer support for someone who's trying to be better. You see what I'm saying? This isn't like no lightweight shit for me. This is like earth shattering. Even the concept or the consideration of responding. Because this person caused me emotional pain. They caused me financial stress that is not over. I'm involved in all kind of mess here because of this person and what they did. They threatened me. Like, it got really wild and crazy, like way. Well, you already know. That's exactly what it is, Eric. That's exactly how that works. And what happened was Spirit was like, bitch, you talking about how people try to evolve and come out of their shadow. And you have an opportunity to show kindness and support for that with this one young lady. And because you're mad and you're hurt and because you feel like the violation was too deep and you're still suffering, you can't offer what it is that you want for yourself. So my comfort, my personality be damned. I'm being called to evolve. Now, does that mean that I'm going to allow myself to be vulnerable to this person again? Does that mean that I'm going to restore this person again? Possibly. Not definitely, but it's possible. There's some evaluation that needs to be done. But I had to take this as an opportunity to look at myself and go, you have a choice. Your action to not respond could literally send her right back into where she had been before. Saying, see, this is why I don't apologize. And this is why when I fuck up, I just do it and I just leave it. This is why something moved inside of her to cause her to be interested in changing. And in turn, it's calling me to raise and elevate and evolve and become better. And like I said, I've been talking to y'all about this. We just talked about this last Friday. It didn't occur to me immediately to do that. It didn't even occur to me that this situation with this person applied to my situation, because it was like, she's out of pocket. She's caused me way too much heartache, way too much pain, way too much. So that doesn't apply to her. But what I realize is that it actually does, because it applies to me. I'm listening to the messages myself and it clicked. This applies to me. This person is asking for grace. This person is putting themselves in a vulnerable position, and I can do something that can help support them in a change in their life by offering them forgiveness and letting them know that I see how difficult it was for them. Or I could be a bitch and rub their nose in it. Would it be my right to do? Yes. Before I knew better. But now that I know better, I don't have that right. So yeah, that was huge. That was huge. That was like, how can I continue to challenge myself in my fundamental ways of interacting with people and dealing with things? compassion, showing that compassion that I know that I'm capable of, right? Which isn't always comfortable. I'm capable of way more than I challenge myself to be. Why do we do that? Here's my theory. A lot of times we tend to not be as good as we can be because we are limited by how little other people are trying. Why go through all of this? Why try to strive to become so much better when all the people around you really don't give a fuck and don't care and do nothing but attack you constantly? It can be really, really, really difficult. Yes, exactly. They're just not there yet. It doesn't mean that they don't understand. It just means that they just may not be there yet. And it was a turning point for me when I realized, oh my God, I have actually been given not only the information, the personal awareness, and the opportunity to exercise these muscles. I'm being given a unique opportunity. Maybe, and I'm going to say this because he said it to me and I've still been processing this. Blew my mind. My mentor said to me, you're looking at a person like a thief. They stole from you. They stole from you. And you view them as a thief forever. And then you meet them later and they return to you what they stole. In the time that they were out of your life, your house burned down, you lost access to things, but they have something that was precious that they stole from you. And now they're in a position to give it back to you. Maybe they took it to preserve it. I said, oh, huh? Maybe they took something from me to give it to me later because they were preserving it for me when I was ready. And then the tears. Why is it that so many things that we need and want for ourselves seem to be in the hands of those that don't appreciate it? I said, what? I said, so does that mean that they aren't a thief? He said, no, it doesn't mean that they're not a thief. But what it does mean is that they're not just a thief. That there's more to them than the fact that they were a thief. They were a thief at the time when they took it from you. But are they a thief now that they've returned it to you? I said, okay, I need a second to digest that. Because it goes to this idea that people at the time when we meet them or when we're dealing with them, that's not all that they are, that they have the potential. So I'm bringing this back to the situation with the young lady, that she took something from me. She damaged an area that's hard for me anyway, which is trust, right? It's hard for me to trust. I don't often let people in. I'm very to myself. And I gave her something that was very precious to me. And she betrayed it. And then worsened it by not being apologetic and not at all feeling any guilt or anything. She actually blamed me and tried to make me out to be the villain, which just hurt me more. But then look at what she did. She turned around and returned it to me and presented me with an opportunity for growth that I would have never had the opportunity to fully embody if not for what she did. Changed my whole perspective. I can say at the time when I interacted with this person or when this person was in this place of their lives, they were this. But I don't really feel comfortable saying who someone is anymore if I don't know. Because up until that moment, in my mind, I was living with a ghost of her. Because that was my experience of her. And if she had never decided to reach out to me, it doesn't mean that she didn't change. I just wouldn't have known it. But she decided to inform me of something that she didn't have to. She didn't offer me money to fix all of the financial mess that she created. I don't even know if she has that. But what she did do was she acknowledged it and she apologized. And is giving me an opportunity to practice radical forgiveness and stretching my own character in a way that I never thought that I would. Because when I tell y'all, I didn't give that shit a second thought. I didn't give it a second thought. I was literally like, I thought I blocked this bitch. I thought that I blocked her. How do I even have a message from somebody that I should have blocked? If I block you and I'm done, I'm done. So yeah, that happened. Maybe the thief is not a thief. Maybe they were preserving something for you to receive later. So me sharing this is an act of me standing in my nakedness before you as a messenger. But are we still going to be friends? Wait. I want to see what you said. But is y'all still going to be homies? Or are you just going to forgive and forget? Really, I don't know. I'm at this stage. I'm at the stage of I've decided to give an alley-oop, to give encouragement to this change in her behavior, because I know that it's not her nature to be this way. And it's not for any manipulation, because there's no benefit to her in one way or the other for me letting her know that I receive her apology. There's no ulterior motive. There couldn't possibly be, because it's not going to benefit her one way or the other. But I know that spirit is moving within people and causing change in a deep way. Because when at first there was nothing but blame and resentment and I'm going to sue you and this was your fault and all of that. And so for this to happen within the space of a year is amazing. And like I said, I'm standing bare as a conveyor of a message, that I too am listening to and interpreting and trying to embody myself in as many areas as I can. And I promise you, this wasn't an area that I thought the spirit wanted me to learn a lesson in this week, because I hadn't given it any thought at all. So yeah, I don't know what's going to happen. But I know that the growth in me and the lessons that I'm learning from this is going to benefit me way longer than I can even see. And I hope that what I share with you is going to be beneficial for you and an encouragement for you as well. You see, good, I'm glad. I hope that this can be encouraging for you. Please know the building community and being amongst like-minded people is the best gift you can give to yourself, because you may be surrounded by people who seek nothing but to undermine, undervalue your worth and what it is that you are trying to become and grow within yourself as an individual. Let's all take a deep breath, because that was a lot. Please go over to Patreon, The Global Black Girl, and sign up. We are starting the Parable of the Talents on Sunday. I cannot even tell you how excited I am to have these conversations. There's community being built. There's like a sub group that's been built out of the first book, and they talk on their own. It's been really, really amazing. I'm going to leave this up for a day or two, and then I'll be sending it over to the Patreon. I'm going to be uploading these messages over there. They can be rewatched. You can, pull from it what you can pull from it at the time that you're hearing it. As with most messages, there's layers and levels. So I hope that this has been beneficial. I will see you guys on Monday for your card readings, and I'll have an announcement to give you. Hopefully it'll be something that all of us are going to be excited about. And thank you for taking the time to listen to me and for forgiving my lateness, but it was worth it, I think. Have a good rest of your day.